For us to look at what the papers are reporting, the Nation newspaper with the usual banner headline, Lawmakers okay e-transmission, 300-day election notification, real-time provision rejected, walkout in House, and it gets leeway to adjust timetable. Next is the Punch newspaper, 2027 elections, lawmakers protest as National Assembly okays e-transmission, manual backup, outrage as Abaribe leads 14 senators in protest, minority reps walk out. Nigerian News Direct, tensions boils over National Assembly. Tensions boil over as National Assembly passes disputed 2026 electoral bill amid protest. 15 senators oppose Clause 60 as 55 back manual transmission. Next is This Nigeria, Electoral Act Amendment, verbal war, minority walkout, reps session. Senate splits 55 to 15, retains manual collation backup, reduces INEC notice to 300 days for review. Leadership newspaper also speaks to the same thing. ACF kicks as reps align with Senate on e-transmission, manual backup. Amechi opposition leaders protest political deception. That's according to Insom Wiki. Daily Trust, APC gets its way. This puts it tersely. The Daily Independent says, judge me by factories, jobs, not policy counts. That's according to the president. Unveils Nigeria Industrial Policy 2025. Charges stakeholders on speedy implementation. Next is the Platform Times. Nigeria losing 8 trillion naira yearly to tax waivers, concessions. That's according to reps. And the Observer Times, DSS witness reveals 800,000 naira payout to each Owo church killer via POS. Terrorists used corn buyer disguise to monitor target church. The explosives and weapons smuggled from Kogi in Gulf 3 vehicle. That's according to the court. Now, the Business Nigeria has the next paper. Osun workers starve as 130 billion naira federal funds remain frozen. Osun nurses, retirees forced to beg for survival. Next and last but not least is the Sport and Life. I'm one of the best in the world. Interesting. It says if I'm not number one, I'm number two. Well, you need to. Osimhen. Oh, so you need to always blow your. Yes, actually, Osimhen boasts. This Osimhen boasting. You have to blow your trumpet. That if I'm not the best, we used to have Muhammad Ali at the time. We would say,
"I'm the greatest."
I'm the greatest. But then it's all interesting. I'll be having this conversation with Etoma, Ria, and Olamide. So let's get down to brass tacks. Etoma, if you look at the Nation newspaper, I say lawmakers okay e-transmission, 300-day election notification. So the real-time transmission, real-time provision is rejected. Walkout in House by the minority caucus. So we have 15 versus 15. 55 against 15, and INEC gets leeway to adjust timetable. I don't know. Let me see. What exactly do you make of these headlines?
Oh man, my first concern is that won't this affect voter confidence? Because when the thing came out initially, it was hailed. That's when the House of Reps finished and sent it to the Senate. It was hailed, and everybody would say, "Oh yeah." And then the idea of some places do not have networks and all that came in, And quite a number of people just said, since we started having this narrative, this is how it will turn out, and this is how it turned out. However, I agree completely. To those that argue that network availability and all that will make it difficult. I agree completely, because we know that I don't think there's any country in the world that has 100% coverage of a network, no matter the service provider. And cases like that, the Form EC8A would be the document to look out for. What really gets me is what people are really concerned about is the real-time transmission from polling units to IREV. And now that real-time transmission element is out. That's why we had the walkout in the House of Representatives and so on. So there's this concern. We already record a whole lot of voter apathy in elections. Is this going to deepen it?
Right, and I think, Ria, I think a whole lot of people who look at this in depth, they know that, it is not possible for you to do real-time transmission of election results, especially, against the fact that we do not do electronic voting. Even those who are big spenders of of technology, they said that, for instance, Elon Musk, that it favors physical balloting as against, computation of voting. So with this, and plus the joint session also agreeing to 300 days notification before the election. I don't know. Do you still hold the same opinion?
For me, you remember we had our guest yesterday. It was a very heated conversation, just talking about this same issue. I believe that we're fighting for something that we cannot achieve. And when you fight for something you cannot achieve, there's going to be a very big problem. Yeah. If we're saying that maybe after 2027, the next election, we'll see how we will start planning early to make sure that we can have that real-time results coming out, then I would agree. But right about now, it's almost close to 2027. I feel like what we should be working on is how to get a free, fair and credible election. Oftentimes, we've just put the whole thing on real-time, transmission of the election results. But have we forgotten that there are other things that can make an election not credible? We have vote buying, we have ballot boxes that can be snatched, with security. So it seems like we've left some very, very important conversations and we are just on one particular thing that it's looking like we cannot achieve. Josh Amopiton has made a lot of statements. Because of this, a lot of people will have scrutinized the amounts that he brought out for the election. But people have even forgotten about that. The only thing they're hammering on is just on one thing. And I feel like we have a serious problem with that. Because what about the rest? Yeah. I don't want it to be when the election is drawing closer that we're now thinking, oh, what about security? What are we doing and all of this? We need to put a lot of things together. Yeah. We also spoke about the fact that they have leadway to, change the dates. And for me, that worries me. Because changing the calendar, it means another mass is about to happen right there, because this is the calendar, that we have known. First of all, we had because of the Ramadan, and then secondly, another thing came up again, which they said, they may move. Yeah,
to allow for legal walks, fireworks,
but
after the election.
If you ask me, I feel like let us keep the dates, like the February, March that we've been. Let us keep those dates, because all this changing, would now make people start thinking, what is really happening? Why are you changing? Because
but it's not the first time it's been changed.
I get what you're saying, but this is a very critical time. Ibrahim, a lot of people are looking forward to this 2027 election. You can see, look at the protests happening. Like, a lot of youths are involved. I speak to people that are telling me, I cannot wait for 2027. I want to just, vote. We're going to see a lot of young people voting, because a lot of young people are now caring about their country. So I think that we need to look at more important things. Not saying that, transmitting these results, in real time fast is not important, but there are other things that we need to also look at to get a free and fair election in 2027.
Alamide, if you look at it, it looks like it's just few among the opposition members that are protesting, this decision by INEC. Because some also, when they look at it, they know that, listen, you can't actually achieve this thing real time, in the real sense of real time. Because if you upload, they say, yes, you can upload using the beavers, and then when you get to where there is network, then it can be uploaded, automatically. But that alone is not real time any longer. So to avoid legalese, to avoid legal fireworks and all of that, that's the reason the joint session with the majority agree on this. So Wiki is also saying Amechi opposition leaders' protest is just political deception, because they know that optics are not in their favor, the metrics are not in their favor. So they feel like we have to do this in order to maybe scuttle or make people feel like, yeah, they are against us.
Yeah, there are some schools of thought that believe that this is not just a technical back and forth between our lawmakers. Some people are alleging that it's political strategy, that electoral law has now become a ground for political territory. But that's a completely different conversation. The protest within the National Assembly that we saw yesterday, and this back and forth about the Clause 60, what does that tell us?
That's right.
It tells us essentially that people, they're not really fighting necessarily, if you ask me, about the law. They're fighting about who controls coalition power. That is what that tells me. It's as simple as that, and that's my opinion. I think ultimately this argument is not about whether results are transmitted electronically or manually. I think it's about whether the Nigerian electorate trusts the system that is declared final.
Absolutely.
Whether that is electoral or electronic or manual.
That's right. So let's move on to the Daily Independence. Judge me by factories, jobs, not policy counts. That's according to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Unveils Nigeria Industrial Policy 2025, charges stakeholders on speedy implementation, says administration recognizes, believes in youth potential. Was it on Monday? Yes, I think on Monday. I had a conversation with the Minister of State for Industry, Federal Industry, Trade and Investment, Senator John Eno. And I asked him about the policy, talk about the Nigeria Industrial Policy 2025. So what exactly is this going to do? So he told us, told me actually, about, looking at some of the areas we're not tapping from, looking away from oil. I know that we've been making a lot of revenue. He spoke very, very brilliantly. So the president is now saying, overall, do not judge me by my not by policy count, but by factories, the number of factories that have actually birthed, jobs, and all of that. You should judge me by that, not by how much policy have you brought up.
Yeah, Mr. President sounds like somebody that really believes in the plan. He believes in the policy. He believes completely that the policy will work and it will translate to a lot of jobs. One of the major things anybody expects from a government is a provision of jobs. In other countries, they monitor it. How many jobs are we able to give to create since we came into power? And what are the projections? Can we create the X amount of jobs and so on? It is a very bold and confident statement that Mr. President made, and that gives me a level of confidence that we are going to see things change. Things change positively, right, especially when it comes to manufacturing. I'm one of those that believe that oil is overrated. We have so many other things that we can make serious money, even more than oil is giving us right now. So let's pursue that. And Mr. President has come up with this policy, or his administration has come up with this policy, and Mr. President seems to be very confident about it, and it's a positive sign.
Absolutely. So if you look at Platform Times, say Nigeria losing 8 trillion naira yearly to tax waivers, concessions, that's according to reps. 12.4 trillion naira revenue gone in 3 years. Beneficiary firms, MDAs, to face legislative review. I think that disclosure was made by Honorable James Abiodun Faleke, who is the chairman of the ad hoc committee on the review of tax and exports. So the key findings are that total projected loss between 2023 and 2026, that's a total of 12.4 trillion naira. Tax to GDP ratio, also that is also inclusive, nature of abuses. So it is one thing for us to say, yes, we are ensuring that people are captured in the tax net. It's another thing for people to also realize that it is our obligations to make sure we pay our tax.
I'll put it in this simple terms. When we talk about tax waiver, it's good for the companies, but is it good for the government? That's what we need to look at. The government needs money to operate. Some countries just operate on only, tax money. But in Nigeria, there's been a lot of controversies because people will say, we don't see the dividends and all of that. We know that the government is trying to do well, by reducing some of this tax money that they will pay. But if it's hurting the government, then I think that they need to look at it in another way, because we're looking at 8 billion, or was it 8 trillion or 8 billion, 8 billion naira that the government is losing. Now, these monies will be 8 trillion. This money to be used for roads, infrastructure, hospitals. It goes on and on. So if you cannot help somebody when it's hurting you, and that's the simple way I'll put it. If it's hurting you, you need to fix yourself first before you can help somebody. So we also need to look at the amount that we give these people for tax waivers. I think that is something that they can have a conversation with and balance it. Interesting.
So let's move on to Observer Times. Olamide, this DSS witness reveals 800,000 naira payouts to each our church killer via POS. So terrorists use corn buyer disguise to monitor target church, and then explosives and weapons smuggled from Kogi in Golf 3 vehicle caught here. So you see the issue of the fund distribution approximately 2 to 3 weeks before the attack. That's about, the amount was actually credited with 800,000 naira in 2 separate installments, making use of POS, all of this. So you see these people, that kind of network, that kind of sinister plans that they put in place before they launched these heinous attacks.
This story, this discovery tells us everything that we need to know. We now know that terror financiers and terror financing, they're now using everyday financial, economic systems, and they're adapting. They're using a POS like me and you use every day, but they're using it for different reasons, for nefarious reasons. Globally, we know that security agencies and the protocol is that they treat paper trails and money trails like this as critical weapons in finding out more about counterterrorism. So I'm happy that we use our intelligence the right way. And this was why I believe last year, some lawmakers were pushing for geotracking of POS agents, and because this is why it wasn't to stifle the POS operators. It was because of reasons like this, because they saw things that we didn't see. POSs, they're fast, they're decentralized, and if there's no legislation around them, they could be used for reasons like this. I'm happy to see that intelligence led to this.
And just to add to this a little bit, I'm not trying to take the job out of people that do POS, of course not. But if they don't really look at that thing and regulate it well, it's something that people will use for so many criminal activities. I've told you how many times that I've been scammed by a POS person, and at the end of the day, that person will leave.
You give your card to the POS
I give my
person.
card.
I think you should stop doing that. The best you do is to transfer.
I've stopped doing that, and that person will move from that place that was staying close to my house and another place, and they'll do it to somebody else. So I think that when we were saying this, they thought, we want to take job off them, but if that thing is not regulated, a lot of danger will happen, honestly.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the business Nigeria, Etoma. Osun workers starve as 130 billion naira federal funds remain frozen. Osun nurses, retirees forced to beg for survival. As we always say, when two elephants fight, the grass actually exactly. So you see the Osun state government as well as the federal government on one side, and the APC within said that the money is actually paid, but only that you need to respect the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court's ruling is that local government autonomy has to stand. But the state government is saying, yes, we already conducted elections and we have chairmen. So why are you not paying the money? So the forth and back is really affecting not just the growth of the locales, but Osun nurses, retirees, they are now forced to beg for survival. This is really bad.
One of the hardest things to do is to meet a fellow man like you and say, bros, can you advance me that urgent 2K? It takes a lot out of you as a person to do that. And to know that your legitimate money is tied down somewhere. Because politicians are bickering. I can't have access to my money. I can't feed my children. I can't pay school fees. I can't do the basic things. That's dehumanizing the people of Osun, because they have not been given access to monies that are legitimately theirs. So what do we do from here is just to appeal. Let's forget about the intricacies, the details and all that. Look at the people that are suffering. These are people that you swore, you took an oath to take care of when you took office as a governor or as commissioners or whatever. These people, you are turning them to beggars. That is the lowest level you can take somebody.
If you look at the ruling, actually, in December 2025, the Supreme Court ruled that withholding these allocations was unconstitutional. Despite this, the funds remain unreleased due to ongoing disputes over which officials are the legitimate recipients. This is blatant disregard for the apex court in the country. When the court has ruled, I feel if you can't resolve it, constitutionally, why don't you use political means? Sit down round table and provide, solution.
For me, when we talk about appeal, I say we have been appealing for a long time. It's high time we take action, because from last year, Etoma, we've been speaking about this local government thing. We've been speaking about it over and over again. We've had so many guests here that have made really brilliant suggestions, but nothing has happened. Now, just thinking about it, that these people, it's not like you don't have, but it's not being given to you. And sometimes I believe that some of our politicians, honestly, they don't deserve to be politicians. I'm sorry to say, because at the end of the day, if you are put there, you're put there for your people. You're not put there for yourself. Your people suffering alone, should make you turn on your bed, should make you not be able to sleep at night. To know that your nurses, the people that are there to take care of people that are sick, are now begging to eat for monies that is supposed to be theirs, for money that they have worked for. I think that it has gone beyond appealing.
Absolutely.
I think right about now, we need to take action, and the president needs to really come into this.
Very quickly, the Osun state government actually maintains that it has used state-level resources to pay core salaries of January 2026, but at the end of the day, allowances and supplementary entitlements tied to the frozen federal funds cannot be paid. So people who retire, people who are supposed to earn their pay, begging here and there, they just have to find a solution. That's just the bottom line, you think?
It's a shame that the populace and the people of Osun State are suffering because some people are refusing to uphold a Supreme Court ruling. You know, Ibrahim, you mentioned, you said if the legal route is not being taken, if they're not honoring the Supreme Court ruling, that they should have a political sit down. I should not have to arbitrate for you to do the right thing, especially when a court legally has ruled in my favor. It shouldn't be so. So they're now saying that Governor Adeleke has said several times that from his own pocket, he has paid salaries, he has done this, he has done that. And yet,
not his own pocket.
No,
state
you know what
resources.
I mean. From state resources. However, I still see Osun elites moving around, you know, in convoys and traveling in private jets. So he might still have the state resources to keep doing that and supporting his people. But it's very sad because I'm from Elisha, as you know. The people of Oshogbo, Ile-Ife, Iwo, Ede, they are hard working, and so to see that they are struggling in this way,
I'm not surprised that she said that because Olamide is very hard working. So I can tell that
unfortunately, she's not on the payroll of the Osun.
You never know.
So Osimhen is actually boasting, I'm one of the best in the world. Says if I'm not number one, I'm number two. Then one of the best. Okay, so if you're number two, then you're no longer the best. Best is supposed to be superlative.
One of the best.
Okay.
One of.
So Osimhen bags 2 assists in 7-goal thriller. But then 1 tree doesn't make a forest.
Yes, it's a team. It's a team sport.
Absolutely.
You have to have a team that understands you. You know, let's use Rashidi Yakini. At a point, Rashidi Yakini became so proud because he was scoring all the goals of the Super Eagles and all that. And he gave one interview that he said without him in the Super Eagles, we don't have a team. And so I said, okay, now so you talk. All right, let's show you. They stopped feeding him, and he couldn't score. So if Osimhen is saying that, he should have it at the back of his mind that he might be giving assists. He also needs assists to score goals.
Well, let me just drop this here quickly. I feel like oftentimes in Nigeria, when people praise themselves, we say it's pride. He's not pride. He's just telling you, like, this is what I am. As a person, you're supposed to believe in yourself. Like, Toma, you are number one in what you do. I am number one. Olamide is number one. Like, you cannot be doing something like,
I'm not number one.
You are the toppest of the top. You know, so I love it when he comes. I love it when he comes out to say this, and he's been delivering. It's not like he said this and he has not scored any goal. We've seen what he has done, but of course, we understand that as a team, they need to work together. But Osimhen, blow that trumpet.
As long as he also understands that all his other teammates hold the same amount of value as he does.
Absolutely.
But someone is always better than someone at the end of the
day. Should be guarded.
Should be guarded.
All right, then that's about it for the newspapers of review. Still to come, could a constitutional amendment be the turning point for women's political inclusion as the special seats bill gains renewed attention in Nigeria? Join us after the break for these important conversations.